So today we are going to make Chana Masala, also known as Kabuli Chana or chickpeas. I don't usually soak them overnight. I do the lazy, easy way, and that's by getting a tin of garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. These are already cooked and soft, and you don't have to worry too much about soaking and so forth. Tomato puree, and what I do is I get a big tin, use whatever I like, and the remaining I freeze in ice cubes. And so whenever I need, I just have to take a few cubes out depending on how much I need. That way it doesn't go waste. And some chilies, green chili for taste, green coriander or hara dhaniya for garnishing, and I use ginger and garlic paste. If you use fresh ginger and garlic, that's the best, but this is the lazy, easy way out, just to get the ready-made one. I also like to cook in ghee. It's much healthier than oil. Sometimes I'll mix a bit of ghee and a bit of oil together, 50-50, and I make my own ghee. Here I've taken one large onion and just diced it coarsely. You can you can chop it fine and use that, or you can just puree it, which I'm going to show you how I do that. And here are some of the other spices that I'm going to use. That's clove, and that's methi or fenugreek. That's my spice box, and what I use here is a bit of coriander powder, dhaniya powder, and that's red chili powder, and that's cumin seeds, jeera, that is jeera powder, and that's turmeric or haldi. And rarely I will use just a few, very pinch of citric acid if my tomatoes are not tarty enough. But rarely do I do that. And then garam masala, which has a number of things in it. I'll make a separate video of how I make my garam masala. But in addition to all the spices you saw in my spice box, there's also cinnamon, black cardamom, green cardamom, um, black pepper, and a bunch of other things which go to make garam masala. Every home has their own formula, and I'll put up my own formula online. But here is the magic masala, the Chana Masala. This really is a game changer. It's so easy to use, so easy to make Chana Masala. Please buy the NDH brand. This is the best. So we start off with my onion, which I'm going to now puree it. Just crush it until it becomes a puree. And you can use onions which are finely chopped or finely sliced also. But somehow I find that Chana Masala comes out better if I crush them and make it into a fine paste. And that seems to work best for this dish, although it takes longer to saute these. Now here are the green chilies. I've chopped the top off, slice it, and if it's too hot for you, just take those seeds out. That's my ghee, which I make with the finest Amish butter. So here's a tablespoon of ghee that I'm going to put, and I've also added a bit of cooking oil in that, so half and half. And as it gets hot, you can see smoking a bit. I'm going to add some cumin seeds. That is jeera. So about a teaspoonful of jeera. Do it on low to medium flame. Don't do it on a high flame, otherwise it gets burnt. You've got to fry them till they are brown. Don't overdo it, because if they are black, then you've overdone it. And there you are. You can see a whiff of smoke coming out. That means they are done. At this stage, I'm going to put a very tiny amount, just hardly about 6 or 7 of these fenugreek seeds. Don't add too much or they'll spoil it. Same with the cloves. Hardly 5 cloves. If you put too much, that will spoil it. And you can see now that the jeera is done. It's looking brown. That's the cumin. It's done. And I'm doing this on a medium to low flame, not a high flame. otherwise it all gets burnt rather quickly and you can spoil your dish. Now I'm going to add the onions, and I'm trying to make this video with one hand, filming with one hand and cooking with the other, so it needs to be done a little bit more vigorously than I can show you. So mix it around initially on a high flame and then cut the flame down to medium to low, otherwise it starts splattering. And then once it's getting done, getting slightly golden, as it dries up, you can see now it's drying up and slightly golden, and when it is splattering and especially if it is sticking to the bottom, see now you can move it around and most of the water has dried up and it's beginning to stick a little bit to the bottom, and so that's when you want to add a little bit of water to carry on cooking it. And you have to saute these onions long enough so that the smell of the onion goes away. So just take a whiff every now and then and see if it still has any smell in it or not. So you have to carry on doing that till such time the smell goes away. Now that can easily take about 20 minutes or so, and do it on a medium to low flame, not on a high flame. High flame is only initially. After that you want to do it on a medium flame, medium to low flame, so that it's not getting burnt at the bottom. And you've got to sort of stir it around rather vigorously so that it's not sticking anywhere. And from time to time you may need to add a bit of water till such time it's really nicely cooked. You can turn it all nice and mushy. So I'm just getting some water in the same mixture where I did the onion, so that some of the onions also gone. And here come the chilies now. So I add the chilies also relatively early when I'm doing the onions. Some people add a bit of salt at this stage. They bring the water out of the onions and they get done a bit faster. But for reasons that I'll explain later, I don't put salt or very little, and perhaps a little bit later during the cooking, because the ginger chickpeas also have some salt in it, and there's a risk that you might overdo it with the salt, so you have to be a little bit careful. But some people may add salt at this stage. And now, once these onions are getting done, the next step will be to add, let me add a little bit more water here because it's sticking to the bottom. There we go. So from time to time you may have to add just a couple of tablespoons of water, not too much, so that the onions are really nice and a deep golden, and then you know that they've been done. And also the raw onion smell should go. Now at this stage, there you go, as I move it around, you can see the onions are sort of beginning to get bunched up. And as I move it around, you can also see that they are beginning to lose the oil. And so there you go, you can see the oil, that they're beginning to lose the oil. They've turned into a sort of a rich golden brown, and you can see the quantity has reduced quite a lot. Still doing it on a medium to low flame, not a high flame. Right? And so you can see how much that onion has reduced in amount and getting dry at this stage and leaving the oil. So and now it's time to add the ginger garlic paste. I use quite a large amount, at least a nice big heaped tablespoon, because this is not as strong as the one that you would make fresh. and so it requires a little bit more than if you made the fresh paste, which would, for that, probably a teaspoon would be enough. But for the ready-made one, you need a larger amount. So I'm going to mix it around a bit. It's quite dry. The important thing is that you have to cook this till such time the smell of vinegar goes away, because vinegar is used as a preservative in the bottled ginger garlic paste. I've added a bit of water because it was really quite thick, so keep it on a medium flame, low to medium flame. And I'm trying to film with one hand and cooking with the other, so really this needs to be stirred around a little bit more vigorously than what I can show. And you may have to add just a little bit more water because it's sticking at the bottom and the smell of the vinegar has still not gone. But once the smell goes, then it's time to add the pureed tomato. And again, once you've added, stir it around vigorously. And at the next stage, we are going to add some spices to this. Now, regarding the spices, I put the chili powder first. That's according to your taste and how hot it is. I like my food somewhat hot, so I've added a good teaspoonful. And some of the other spices I'm going to add a little bit later, because chili only has taste. It has no smell to it. And so if you add the other spices at this stage, which contain all the aroma, and if you cook them too long, then the aroma is gone and the dish doesn't taste as good. So some of those spices I will add after a while. Of them, I first put the coriander, the dhaniya powder, because that takes just a little bit longer to cook. And so that's my dhaniya powder. And once it's cooked for about a minute or so, I'll add a similar quantity of jeera powder and just half a spoon of turmeric powder. So first I'm going to let this cook for about a minute or two. Mix it around nicely. Here I've opened the tin of the beans and I'm going to take the water out. Now this water does have some salt in it, and so that's why I didn't add any salt in the beginning, because sometimes when you add this water, the salt can become a wee bit too much and then the dish can get spoiled. You can always add more salt later on. So first I'm going to add these chickpeas. I've already added those 4 spices, the coriander, cumin, turmeric and chili. Those spices are already there. And now I'm going to add the chickpeas. These are already cooked, and so they're quite soft, and it doesn't take more than another 5 minutes or so after we've added these chickpeas for it to cook. And because it's thick, I'm going to add the water, which I got out from the tin. You shouldn't add the whole thing at one time, just a little bit of water every now and then to decide how thick you want it. You can add some more of that water. So little bit, just keep adding and stirring until the mixture is of the right consistency that you like. And once you reach that stage, then I'm going to add the magic masala, which is the chickpea, the masala, Chana Masala, and just trying to make sure that the consistency is still right. Keep adding a bit of water every now and then. Just notice I haven't added any salt to it. Here comes the Chana Masala. It's absolutely magical. This is fantastic. And you make sure it is the MDH brand. That is the best. So I'm adding a fairly liberal amount. That would be about a teaspoon. If you find that too much, well, perhaps you might want to start with a level teaspoon and add a bit more if you want to. This also has salt in it, so You may not need to add any salt at all in here, but this has all the fragrance, everything in it. A little bit more water just to get that consistency right, and that's it. You don't have to add any other masalas, you don't have to do anything. Bring it to a boil. Again, just carry on a medium flame. All this has to be cooked on a medium flame, except for the onions, you don't need a high flame. So once it's come to a boil, I'm going to switch off the gas and I'm going to cover it, put it aside for perhaps an hour so that the spices have time to mingle. The next step is just a pinch of garam masala. There it goes. And then you can garnish it with either hara dhaniya, that's green coriander, also known as Chinese parsley. If you don't have that, you can add dry fenugreek leaves, methi, kasuri methi. Any of them will do, and your dish is ready.